Hello and welcome to my channel. Today's video we are going to be making this cute little version of Pennywise. He is no-sew for the body, and then we will have to embroider the feet, the hands, the buttons, and all the little extras, and then add the hair at the end. For this video I will be using a number 4 medium weight yarn, a 4.25 millimeter hook, and 10 millimeter safety eyes. This is a crochet along, so I will be doing every stitch with you, and I am also providing a drop down at the top of the screen with the pattern instructions for the first 30 seconds of every row for you to follow along with. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button and click that bell. Not only does that help me out, but you'll also be notified every time I load a new video, as well as any likes, shares, and comments are always appreciated. Okay, I think that's everything, so grab your yarn and let's get started. Alright, we're going to be starting at the top of the head, and you can begin your rounds any way you prefer. I like to make a knot with the loop on the end, so what I do is I fold my yarn over in half, grab the top to make a loop. I'm going to wrap that around my finger, down, around, and through to make my knot. Then I'm just going to pinch the top of that loop, and I'm going to slide that knot up so that loop is just a little bit bigger than my hook. And you're going to grab your hook, insert your hook into the loop, grab your yarn, pull up, and chain 1. And remember that that does not count as a stitch. That's just attaching our yarn to our loop. And for row 1, going over top of the tail, we're going to do 8 single crochets into the loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then we need to pull on that tail to close that hole if you have one. Grab a stitch marker if you're using one, and for row 2 we are going to do 8 increases, so that's 2 single crochets in every stitch all the way around for a total of 16. So increase 1 and 2 in the same stitch, increase 3 and 4, increase 5 and 6, increase 7 and 8, increase 9 and 10, increase 11 and 12, increase 13 and 14, and our last increase 15 and 16. Row 3, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 increase, repeat that all the way around for a total of 24. So 1, and then an increase for 2 and 3, and repeat that around. 4, increase 5 and 6, 7, increase 8 and 9, 10, increase 11 and 12, 13, increase 14 and 15, 16, increase 17 and 18, 19, increase 20 and 21, 22, and our last increase 23 23, and 24. Row 4, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 5, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 6, 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 7, 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 8, 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, and then in our 24th stitch we're going to change color in our next row. So we're going to go in, grab our yarn, pull up, leave those 2 loops on the hook, and we're not finishing that single crochet at the moment. And we're going to cut our old yarn, leave enough for tying. Then you're going to grab your new color and you're going to tie that nice and tight, as close to the hook as you can get it, 2 or 3 times. Then you're going to grab that new color, pull it through those 2 loops to finish off that last single crochet of the previous row. Row 9, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 10, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 11, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Row 12, we are going to do 24 single crochets all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. And now we're just going to take our hook out because we're going to add our eyes. And the first thing we're going to do is just kind of center our back. So I'm going to do my color change, try and get that approximately in the center. Flip it around. This is going to be your front now. So grab your eyes and get those ready. And we're going to grab our darning needle. And our eyes are going to go in between rows 6 and 7. So we're just going to come down the center, counting from our beginning loop, which is going to be our row 1. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So just below row 6, we're going to take our pin and we're going to go into a stitch so we have a hole on each side. We're going to grab our first eye and we're going to go over 3 holes. So that first hole right beside our pin is 1, 2, and then into that third hole. And then same thing on the other side. The hole right beside our pin, 1, 2, 3, and in that third hole. So it's going to look like this. And then we're just going to put our eyes in, our backs on. And let's add a little bit of stuffing now. So what you want to do is put about 2/3 of your stuffing in. You want it to be firm enough that it's starting to hold its shape, but you want to be able to do the next row without catching all that stuffing. So I might have a little bit too much in there, but I should be okay. So I do what. Oops. And then before we get started, our next row is going to be in the back loop. So if you've never done back loops before, generally we go underneath those 2 V's in the stitch. For the back loop, we're going to be going down in between the V's and just catching these back loops. And that's going to leave these front loops showing, and it's going to make our stitches kind of go horizontally to the side there, so we can have a flat bottom. So let's get our hook back in. Actually, I think I better take a little stuffing out or I'm going to struggle with that. There we go. Okay, for row 13, in the back loops, we are going to do 1 single crochet, 1 decrease, repeat that all the way around for a total of 16. So remember, we're going to be going down in between the V's and out the back, just catching that back loop. So 1 single crochet for 1 decrease for 2. And repeat that around. 3 and a decrease for 4, 5, and a decrease for 6, 7, and a decrease for 8. And if you're getting in the back loops right, you'll notice you're seeing that ridge now of stitches of the front loop. Single crochet for 9, decrease for 10, 11, decrease for 12, 13, decrease for 14, 15, and our last decrease for 16. And row 14, we are going to do 8 decreases all the way around, and we're back normal under both sides of that V. So 1 decrease, 2 decreases, 3 decreases, 4 decreases, 5 decreases, 6 decreases, 7 decreases, and 8 decreases. And then you are just going to slip stitch into the next stitch, tie that off, leave yourself quite a bit of a tail, so you have an option later on if you want to bring this up and make a loop or something if you don't have any keychains, or if you're just keeping it how it is, you can just cut it up there. Now let's finish stuffing up that bottom. And all I'm doing is I'm taking my stuffing and I'm kind of scooching it to the sides. So I'm going to be scooching it out to the corners to keep that flat on the bottom. Sorry, I'm not used to the stuffing being in all these little pieces. I'm used to a big chunk to put in. Make sure it's firm up and around here before you start going into the corners. And then you'll just kind of feel for a hole or a pocket. I think I'm getting close here. When it starts kind of bulging out and rounding out at the bottom, that's when you know you've got enough. Just remember, you want this to be flat as you're going around. And also keep in mind, I'm not closing it yet because we're going to be putting all our ends up through the bottom when we do all the details on him. All right, we're going to start with the little ruffle around his neck. And what you want to do is we're going to be attaching this yarn. So you can attach your yarn any way you prefer, but I'm going to be making my knot with the loop on the end. Whichever way you do it, leave a little tail so that you can sew that end in at the end. All right, so now you want to find where your stitches meet, and I'm going to make sure my yellow's on this side, my white's on this side, so I can go around this way. And my first yellow stitch right there, I'm just going to go above it in that hole, around the bar of the stitch above it. Attach my yarn onto my hook. Take me a second to get in position here. Pull that through, and then we're going to chain 1. And remember, that's not counting as a stitch. That's just attaching our yarn. And what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch all the way around in those bars just between the yellow and the white. So I'm going to go in that same stitch. I'm going to do my slip stitch. So the first one might be tricky. There we go. And then just continue around. So into that next stitch, slip stitch in the next one. So you're just going in the hole, around the bar, and into the next stitch. Try to make it on the looser side if you can. Mine are kind of tight because of the angle that I'm at right here videoing. Okay, whoop, yep. Try not to catch stuffing like I just did there. Alright, I'm about halfway around, so just in case you need to have a peek, this is what it's going to be looking like. And if you're used to my counting, it's going to be about 24 times that you're doing this. Maybe a couple extra at the end to join them up. Okay, so I'm at my last one here on the bottom, but because when you go in the round, it kind of, they kind of move up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put an extra stitch right here diagonally from this row up to the row we started in. Just so we're not pulling that last row more than we need to. And then I'm just going to slip stitch where I first started. And then tie off. And just leave yourself a little bit of a tail so that you can hide that on the inside. And we're going to do that right away here. So I'm just going to give it one tie, and then hopefully I can hide these knots inside when I put it in on my needle. So thread your yarn on. And go as close as you can above the white and the yellow, and then come out the bottom. And give that a good hard pull so you can try and get the knots on the inside. You might even need to put your finger inside and just kind of guide that knot in there, because it's a little nicer if there's not a big bump right there. Then we're going to cut those ends. All right, now we're going to start doing the little blue and green stripe around the middle here. So grab yourself your purple, and if you're not sure how much to cut off, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap it around twice because we're back stitching. Wrap it around again for a little extra, and then just, you know, another foot or so. That will give you more than enough to go around. So let's thread that on our needle. We're going to come up through the bottom, And we're going to start one stitch ahead of where you want to stitch, or start, sorry. So this is where we kind of have our little mess of knots. So I want to start 2 stitches up. So there's 1, 2, because we're going to be back stitching. So right between the V's of that slip stitch that you made, pull most of your yarn through. You want to leave a little bit for tying. Then you're going to go back 1 stitch, and you're going to skip 2 stitches. So skip that hole. So you're skipping the one you went in, skipping the hole, and then going in the next. So you're 1, 2, 3. Then you're going to go in 1 stitch back. So what you're doing is you're leaving a space for the green. Then you're going to skip the 2 stitches there. And then 1 stitch behind and go back, skip that hole, go into the next one. And you're just going to do that all the way around. If you have to think about it for a sec, think about it. I'm thinking about it every time I go in. Just lucking out. Basically, you got your thread, a hole, and then you go back in, and then go backwards 1. Oh, try and leave these a little on the looser side so they stand out a bit. Oh, yep. Yep. Okay, we're almost at the end here, and you may have to kind of fudge it a bit just to make it work out. So I got that one. Let's see what it looks like when we go in. So I think I'm going to leave it like this because I'll just make the last green one across both of here, and it just will be a bit of a longer stitch in the back. So I'm going to come out the bottom. Tie those ends. And then give them a cut. Now grab your green. And again, if you need to, wrap it around just to kind of see. And I'm also not counting the end here. So 1, 2, 3, and a little bit extra. It's always better for me, I think, to have a little bit extra because you don't want to get almost to the end and then not have enough to finish. Okay, so same thing. We're going to start up into the back under the bottom. Where's our back stitch here? There it is. So I'm going to start here. So I want to go ahead of where my stitch is going to be. So I'm in that purple on this side, and I'm going to be going back into this, into this stitch right here. So pull most of your thread through, leave enough for tying, and now you're just going to go around between the purples. So down, now I'm going to come up in that first purple, and then go back into that purple. So forward, the front, and then to the back one. And again, try and keep it on the looser side if you can. And if you're still watching, following along with me, I'm just going to give you a little bit of a teaser that I will be making both the 2017 version and the 1990 version in the standing style that I've been doing most of my Halloween larger guys in. I know some of you have been waiting 3 or 4 years for this to happen. I finally got confident enough to try it, and it just turned out really good. So that is going to be the next thing I'm videoing. I might try and throw in a few of the older ones, like in this style. I'm not sure. No one's really said if they like this. Like, should I keep going on and make them all? So here's my longer stitch. Make all the ones I have in these little mini versions. I'm thinking I might. So that is a little long, but you're not really going to notice that in the back. Then we're going to tie it. I have actually already made Sam, and it's okay. It's hard to get all these little details. I'm used to making a fairly plain shape and then really doing a lot of details to make it turn into something. Okay, let's do the hands next. So I'm just going to grab a couple feet of white. If you have a scrap, use that. Thread that on. You're going to come up the middle of the bottom, and then you're going to come into, what row am I in? I think I'm in this row. So you want to come just kind of centered under the eye here, and then we're going to go backwards towards the outside. So pull that so you have enough yarn for tying, and we're going to go around this stitch right here 4 times. So that's 1, 2, 3, and then on our 4th one, we're going to come over to the other side and do the same thing. We want to be in the same row and the stitch that's centered right under the eye. And then again, we're going to go away from the center 4 times around that stitch, just like we did on the other one. 2, 3, and then our 4th one out the bottom to tie. Cut those off. And grab your black for the feet. This time I do have a little scrap. So again, it's a foot or 2 long. Same thing we did with the hands. We're going to come up the bottom center, but this time we want to make sure we are just above that front loop row right there. So in between our last row and the little bumps from the front loops. And this time, starting in the center of the arm, we're going to go to the inside. Leave a little bit of string for tying, and then we're going to wrap around that stitch 4 times. 1, 2, 3, and then on our 4th one, we're going to come down and over. Try and get in the center of where the hand is. Doesn't have to be exact. I just want the feet a little closer together than the hands. And then wrap around this stitch 4 times. 1, 2, 3. Then on our 4th one, we're going to go out and tie it. When I did my pumpkin, I actually put the foot 1 row too high, and I didn't even notice until I was almost done editing. So that's how much it doesn't really matter. And then if you find one's a little smaller than the other, you can just pull and wiggle them a bit to even them out. So let's tie that. time because that didn't seem super tight. Okay, cut that off. All right, let's do the little pom-pom things in the front, and I'm just going to grab again a small amount of scrap orange. Thread that on. And we just want to kind of find the center here. So I think this stitch, so this is my center stitch. I've got a whole stitch, whole stitch. I'm just going to wrap around that stitch, leave some yarn on the bottom for tying. And I'm just going to go around once and then go down a row and go around once. It's hard to kind of figure out what stitch to go in, I know. If you leave them kind of loose, you can kind of make it look like you went straight. And then once you have your third one, so I just went down each row, come out and tie that. I'm just going to loosely tie it so I don't pull those too tight. Cut that off. All right, let's grab some red and do the nose, and you don't need too much of that. I should be grabbing scraps, but I'm not. Okay, so I'll thread the red on, and our nose is going to go right in between the eyes in the same row that we attached them. So we're going to skip this stitch, we're going to go around this stitch, and we have a kind of a stitch on this side. So whatever your center stitch is, you're going to be going around that. Leave some thread for tying. Oh, I'm going to mess here too. Okay. And we're just going to wrap around just like we did the hands and feet a couple of times. So 1, 2, 3, and you're going to do 4 times here because he has a bit bigger nose than the other guy. So on my 4th one, I'm going to come down. You do as many as you like. It also depends on the thickness of the thread you're using. And then we'll just tie those loosely so that we don't pull our nose. Cut those ends. Now we're going to do the mouth, and you can use embroidery thread. It will look a lot nicer, but I just use yarn, and all I do is pull it apart. Just pick one strand of my 4 strands. I've already taken one out, so I've only got 3 this time. And you're just going to pull that, separate those strands apart. And we're going to thread one on. Come up the middle again, middle bottom, and we're just going to have the edge of our mouth on either side of the nose and then point down on the bottom here. So you're going to come up on one side, just to the side of the nose. Leave your end for tying, and then you're going to come to the center and down. Make sure you don't go in the little ruffly thing you made, and then come up in the other side of the nose there, just below it. You're basically just making a little V. Now you're going to go back in that same stitch at the bottom and then out. And just don't pull it too hard there, nice and gently. Give that a loose tie. So you might have to tie it a few more times. Yeah, it's still sliding. One more time, I think. There we go. Give that a cut. All right, we'll do the eyebrows now. Oh, I actually made this nose a little nicer than my other guy's nose. So again, use embroidery thread if you have it, but if you don't, you can just separate your yarn. Oops, I just had a disaster and it broke in the middle. So here's another one that I did. So we're just going to thread that on. And we are going to start just kind of diagonal from the eye on both sides. So like that. But make sure that you go down, grab a chunk of stuffing and come up, and then you shouldn't see the black line of this thread underneath. Pull about half through and then just kind of see where you want your eyebrow to go. Like, do you want it straight, a little angle, very stern? Now I'm just going to go up one row. So I'm going to go up to this row and I'm going to count over 2 holes. So 1, 2. So I'm just kind of behind the eye a little bit. And I am also going to make a little kind of a check on it. See how I kind of went down on the one side? So I'm just going to come right down. I think I went over one more before. These might be shorter than I did. Oh, they are. And then back down. So we're going around that stitch. So it's going to look like this on this one. It doesn't matter how you do these as long as you try and keep them even. This one doesn't look nearly as mean as the other guy. And then thread on your other end and we'll do the same thing on the other side. So I just skipped one stitch here, I guess. So I went into here, but one higher. And then down. Sorry, I'm not used to doing this second piece of an eyebrow. Just kind of check that they're even and then go back in and down. You can always change them before you tie them if you need to. See, I pulled that one a little bit, so if you do that, you just come in and very gently kind of pull it out a little bit. I might do that one too. And if you're happy with them, give them a tie. Cut those ends. All right, I think we'll close him up now. And especially because we got a lot of dark ends here, we don't want to see those. So let's take a little bit of stuffing and we're just going to cover those ends so we can't see them through. Just gently tuck it under and around. There. Now you can't see any of those ends. Let's thread our ending tail back on our needle. And now we're just going to weave in and out of these top loops of our last row. And I always like to start on the inside so my knot will be on the inside. And if you are trying this in the plush yarn, go about halfway around and then pull, and then go the rest of the way around and pull, or whatever seems easy. And that should help the yarn from breaking. Actually, since I didn't try these in the plush yarn, I'd love to see them if you want to ever check out my Facebook craft page. It's listed down in the description at the top there. just come over and share a photo. Okay, let's give that a pull now. Oh, that doesn't work. What did I do? I don't know what I did, but that's gonna just get tucked right in. There we go. Oh, now it pulls. All right. And we're just gonna tie a knot in the next stitch. Go into the center, and we're gonna come up through the center top loop here. And now we're going to do the hair. So I'll grab my red. And I put 8 pieces on, and I want them folded over to be about the length of my 3 fingers. So I'm just going to use my 3 fingers as a guide, and I'm going to go around them 8 times. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then I'm going to cut that end, pinch it up at the top, and we're going to cut through the middle. And there's our little pieces of hair. All right, so grab your hair. And I just realized I put my eyebrow crooked. It should have been right there, and I put it 2 over. So I'm going to just count over from the first hole behind on this side of my eye. 1, 2, 3, and in that 3rd stitch, oh, and I'm also on the top of the row here. So I'm in the same row I started my eyebrow, and I'm going to do 4 up towards the top of the head. So we're just going to put that on our hook, pull it through, and then we're going to grab those ends and pull them through the loop we just made. So just like that. And then same thing on the other side. So 1, 2, 3 in that 3rd hole. Go around that row, attach our yarn, pull it through, grab our ends, pull it through that loop we just made. That actually even looks cute. And then so you'll just do 3 more on each side, and I will leave you to do that yourselves. And there we go. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button and click that bell. Not only will you be helping me out, but you'll also be notified every time I load a new video, as well as any likes, shares, and comments are always appreciated. I'd also like to say thank you to everyone who has been so kind to have hit the thanks button and sent me such generous donations. You will now be listed at the end of all my next videos as my super thanks friends. Take care, be safe, and happy crocheting.